How's it going, everybody? Welcome to TrendSpider Live. My name is Mike, and today we are joined with the legendary Tushar Chande. How's it going today, Mr. Chande?
Very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me and welcome
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. Welcome everybody in the chat. If you guys are out there, let us know how you guys are doing today. Let us know if you guys are trading anything, if you guys are looking forward to these earnings. But me and Tushar have been just chatting, just about the markets as the market comes close to closing here. And we were talking about Microsoft a second ago, specifically Microsoft and this 200-day moving average. We're just showing how it bounced off of this several times here, broke below, and then retested it kind of perfectly right there. And then actually, that was like right at its earnings as well,
Right.
which is very interesting. It gapped way lower and is now right actually at the bottom of this gap right over here. But yeah,
Right.
if you guys are out there, say what's up in the chat. Tushar, what else are we looking at today? And of course, we have PANW, but is there anything else that you had your eyes on? I know we were just talking about a bunch of stuff before this in the chat. We're talking about industrials, we're talking about energy, but maybe real quick, let's just cover what's going on with PANW, because I think that's what a lot of people are probably going to be joining for today.
Okay. If you want to put this uh the para band indicator or the parabob indicator, either is possible. Yeah, that's fine. So you can see
We'll put those two.
that's fine.
Here, I'll leave the band on for now.
Okay, sure. Or you can just put one or the other, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Here, and on the daily chart here.
Yeah, the daily chart is perfect.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can see that where the prices are in the red, right? So
Yeah.
the trend is low, trend is down or bearish, and
Yep.
then it's been painted red. So we're definitely not thinking of going long as such if you're a trend follower. And
Yeah.
then if you look at the chats indicator, it's sort of down in the mud. So that's telling you there's strong negative momentum for the stock. And
Yep.
then if you look at the red trailing stop, the red from which started the top of the band on the right hand side,
Over here.
you're
Yeah.
well below the trailing stop. So for anything significant to happen, you'd have to wait for a bounce that'll at least take you to and through the trailing stop. So
Yeah.
that's the trend following aspect of this chart. And if you want to put the blast indicator and turn this off,
Sure. Yeah. Let me get it up. By the way, guys, if you want to check out all these indicators, they're linked down below. These are all of the indicators that Tushar himself has created and put on our store, and they're all incredible. I highly recommend checking them all out. But here we go. Here's the blast indicator.
right. So now the blast indicator stands for buy low with adaptive stop, and it's a counter trend entry. So those of you who might say that, well, we might get a strong move up from the earnings, then already you can see that we are above the trigger line, which is the orange line above. So
Yep.
any action above this line would give us sort of a buy signal, particularly if you get a low above the trigger line. So it's important to understand that if you're a counter trend trader, you have to have a trailing stop. So the dotted line down below gives you the trailing stop. So that kind of gives you a sense of what your risk is on this position. So for those of you who want to trade counter trend and believe that the earnings today could, trigger a turnaround in the prices, then the blast indicator gives you a reference trigger line to see whether the prices are moving above the trigger line, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, I'm giving you two completely opposite points of view. The trend
Yep.
following point of view, strong downtrend, chat, strong downtrend. And then for those of you who say, well, I want to trade counter trend, quote value, then the blast indicator gives you still a mechanical rule to time or locate your entries, and with
Yeah.
a exit clearly identified, so you know what your risk is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so it's Pan W on the charts. I just recently, a second ago, sent it into Sidekick to see what Sidekick has to say about recent news and everything going on recently. But first of all, let's start with the numbers. We got an EPS estimate of 76 cents per share and a revenue estimate of $2.6 billion for the quarter. And something Sidekick pulled is that it has beaten EPS estimates for 10 quarters straight, which we can see over here in the reports tab. They consistently beat revenue. Right there, you see all these green bars. Then also EPS. But you do see a drop off in the EPS over here for projections, which is a bit interesting. And then today, some recent news. They announced an acquisition of Koi for AI endpoint security. Terms undisclosed on that, I suppose. And then also they launched Unit 42 managed XSIM 2.0 with breach response guarantee. I am not a cybersecurity expert here, but that is some interesting news. And if you look at the chart, you can see we have a red candle today. So apparently market doesn't care for it too much. But after everything, Sidekick does give it a hold rating before earnings. I tell it to give us a buy, hold, or sell before earnings, and it's skewing towards hold. So if you're in, maybe hold, but maybe it's an interesting or not so great time to buy or sell, at least according to AI. And as you can see here, if we just take off indicators for a second, we're it's really been chopping in the same range ever since, like 2024. So it's been a couple of years of the stock kind of consolidating here. And if you throw back on, like the para band, you can see there's really not much going here. Like keeps flicking back from, bullish to bearish, not a super clear trend in either direction. So that is PANW. Any other comments on that, Tushar?
No, really. The bottom line is that if you look at just trend following approach and momentum, it's all negative, bearish.
Yeah.
Now could it find support because it's found support further down, say in the 140 area, it could. But I think today's earnings will certainly affect the prices for the next week anyway, in terms of how the market reacts.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then the next one that's interesting that we got today, first off, I want to show you guys the overall energy market. If you guys haven't seen, energy has been getting some decent bullish activity on XLE here on the monthly. It recently hit an all-time high out of this breakout or this consolidation area. And we do have Devon Energy reporting today. This is the monthly chart. If you go down to the daily with the para band, we throw this on, you can see it is, trending decently well. What are you thinking of this, Tushar?
But definitely, it's trending higher. We have a clear breakout. The
That's
chance indicators at 100, so there's strong
yeah,
momentum. And then if you look at the trailing stop, the trailing stop has crossed above the middle of the band or the moving average. So that tells you that there's enough power in this move that has dragged up the trailing stop. So, and of course, you can see that it's taken out the recent highs from this move, kind of successfully broke above the recent highs. So yeah, it looks very bullish at the moment, but of course the earnings will affect in terms of how people are perceiving it.
yeah. Even on the weekly here, it looks like just maybe this week or last week, it's starting
It has
to
broken above the upper band. Like if we just look at resistance right now, it's say in the $55 area, so you could certainly make the case that it could go up and retest the $55 price just to retest the previous low, and that's a significant barrier. So, but you could potentially argue that there's relatively low resistance for the next $11 or so, up to 55.
Yep. Yep, for sure. So that's an interesting setup. It could have some decent upside momentum here, but we'll see how the earnings goes because you never know. Earnings could come out
No,
bad and
earnings
you see
are very important and volatile because there's a lot of trading around the earnings itself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. But hopefully for anyone out there in energy, if you guys are, we get some good movement there. And then what else do we got? We got CDNS. This one again, not really anything trending lower. Let's see, NNE and QMCO. Yeah, not a crazy amount of. I'd say DVN is probably the best setup of all the earnings today. I'm looking at PANW, DVN, CDNS, NNE, and QMCO. A lot of these other names, the chats is just super low on NNE, and if anything, shorting opportunities here, which is interesting. But DVN, I'd say DVN looks the most promising, at least from a long perspective or a
Correct.
trend following perspective. So, yeah, we got 6 minutes until the market closes. Um, so, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And also, I wanted to show you guys, I did run the Sidekick prompt on DVN as well. Let's see what Sidekick has to say. Oh, interesting. Looks like on what February 2nd, Devon Energy announced a $58 billion all-stock merger with CTRA. That is interesting. Tons of analyst upgrades. This is a good sign. Yeah, oil weakness. I guess let's check the price of oil real quick as well while we're talking about
USO
energy.
futures.
Yeah. Oil has come up recently, but it's stalled for the last, couple of weeks. Let's see. I guess they have a super low PE ratio here on DVN. It's just 7.9. That's a great find from Sidekick. And yeah, another hold rating from Sidekick here. Not a buy, not a sell, just a hold. It says the merger dominates the narrative, making this quarter's standalone results less relevant. So yeah, if you're in this, definitely pay attention to this merger. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. And I know you had some other stuff prepared for us, Tushar. If you guys are out there and you guys are interested in trend following, Tushar has a bunch of stuff that he's going to show us about, mostly when to exit. I know that's a really big topic these days. I mean, looked at like silver, there's, crazy moves going on in silver. Is trending for a very long time, and there's a lot of people out there that like to sell into strength or to use trailing stops. And then Tushar, I know you always like to use trailing stops, and then you also have several variants of trailing stops that we're going to get into probably in a little bit here. We only got 4 minutes till the market closes, but
Can you just put the PALS indicator on that, just
yeah,
on
absolutely.
the silver?
Yeah. PALS indicator. And again, the links to all
Now,
these
see,
indicators are down below. Or go ahead.
right. Now, if you look at the trading stop there, you see it would have given you a very decent exit.
Yeah.
Slightly a little bit after they opened on the first crack. And
Yep.
of course, there's no way to know when that's going to happen. But in terms of an exit, it locked in, a good chunk of the profit and kept you out of the subsequent hard burn of, the additional declines. So
Yeah.
that's an example. And this is a mechanical stop with default values. So, we use the same values on everything. So there was nothing unique about, the silver trade per se that gave us that particular, what might have given us that exit if you had used it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think a lot of trend followers on this big dive here probably got shocked out, unfortunately. Like it was very sudden. Remember that day it happened, is one day the gap down was 15% in itself. So it's kind of hard to avoid, getting stopped out on such a big move like that. But it was a pretty good trade all around. If you got in, like this breakout or even, prior
Right.
breakouts, ended up being a really, really solid trade, even though, I mean, you're always going to give back some gains. And luckily in this case, the gap down was really, honestly, at the stop loss. It could have been worse. It could have opened way down
Right.
lower.
So from a point of view of trading, that's where the stop was, and you probably might have had some slippage getting out because of the heavy volume, but it
Yeah.
still would have been a decent exit for a purely mechanical system, right?
Yeah, definitely. So great look there. Real quick, I think the market's about to close any minute now. So let's get on PANW and see what happens after they close. Let me actually double check what time this company is reporting earnings. PANW is expected to drop them about 5 minutes after the bell. CDNS 2 minutes after the bell. So we should get some movement here. And Devon Energy is also about 5 minutes after the bell. So if you guys are out there in the chat, let us know if you guys are trading any of these, or if you guys have any questions for Tushar while he's here. Definitely let us know down in the chats right now. I'll definitely get over to answering them. What time is it? We got 1 minute until the market closes, though. We got somebody in PANW. And for anyone, I think a lot of people just joined in. We did cover, the daily chart of PANW here. And if we put back on, the para band indicator, we can see it is in the red shading, which means it is ultimately a short. We got a chats rating down here of like negative, like 80 or 90, I should say, negative 90. So pretty bad momentum here on PANW. Joe out in the chat says he got DVN last year, but just picked some PANW up. So we got a bunch of people in PANW. I got some counter trend traders out there.
Yes.
For sure. So there's the bell. And let's see what is going on into market close. I'm curious, Tushar, do you use volume at all when you're deciding entries or anything?
I personally don't use volume simply because I look at it as just another random number generated by the markets. I've never been
Interesting.
able to convince myself whether price begets volume or volume begets price. And I think that there's so much short-term trading now, uh, where people will hold it for only a few minutes at a time, that I don't think the volume is as indicative as it might have been, 20 years ago. So I
Interesting.
personally don't use volume, though. People have made the case that volume is an additional indicator that is worth using. I just don't like it enough to use it, but that doesn't mean it has no value.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Because yeah, if you read a lot of the, the classic trend following books, they're always saying, the breakout has to be followed with volume. Of course, a lot of those books are, again, 10, 20 years old. Market's definitely different since then. So it's a very cool take. Very cool take. I just noticed, none of your indicators, or that I've seen at least, really relied on volume, which I think is pretty cool. So I was curious there.
Personally, you're not trading volume, you're trading price, right? So I said, why, there's no reason to, add another, complicating factor or variable.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense.
So it looks
If
like
it's trending, it's trending, I guess,
PNW
right?
earnings will be out because they're responding, getting a bump up.
Yep. Yeah. PANW on the up move right now. So you do have this after hours change percent indicator. I'll stick on my chart here so we can track it live in real time. Currently up about a little under 1% right now. Not seeing any numbers out quite yet. We should have just a few minutes here, but looking pretty good. Let's look at DVN. DVN again, up just under 1%. So really the calm before the storm. Let's look at CDNS. Ooh, CDNS up 6%. You
Nice.
guys are, yeah, wow, 9%.
So Cadence designs a lot of software for chip design. So in a way, you could argue they're in the thick of the AI trade, and more and more people want to design specialized circuits, specialized chips like ASICs or application-specific integrated circuits. So clearly, they can add value there in terms of giving you design tools to make these specialized chips. So they are very much in the middle of the AI trade, but the daily chart shows you that it's been trending lower rather than higher.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, earnings seem to have come in probably pretty good based on this move right now. Let's
Hmm.
see. Yeah, here we go. Here's the numbers. CDNS. Let's see. We got an EPS beat and a sales beat. Got a double beat. EPS came in at 1.99, beating the 1.91 estimate, with the revenue or sales coming in at 1.44 billion, beating 1.42 billion. So it's up 8% on that move. So congrats to anyone trading that.
The guidance must have been more positive.
Yeah. I always like to, oh, here we go. As you say that, we get the guidance news right in. They see 5.9 is 6 billion versus the 5.94 billion estimate, which is relatively in line, I would say. And
Yeah,
then
that's in line. So
EPS,
who knows?
yeah, EPS about in line too. So it's, good guy. I wouldn't say it's bad guidance. It's not like overly super crazy guidance. Yeah, pretty solid report all around. By the way, if you guys are just joining in, welcome. We're currently, going over all these stocks reporting earnings. Got PANW, CDNS just beat. PANW should come out any moment now. And by the way, you guys can use the first link down below in the description to sign up for the TrendSpider newsletter for free. Send you guys a free market update every single week if you guys are interested. Also, be sure to like the video and check out Tushar's indicators in the description while we wait here for PANW. TrendSpider is on sale right now, by the way, to you guys. You can get this platform for 45% off, depending on which plan you pick. So be sure to check it out if you guys want to follow along and use all of Tushar's indicators on here as we wait for PANW. Hopefully it's a nice move. Oh, here we go. That is 5 minutes after. We're getting a crazy 1 minute candle right now.
Wow, look at that bar.
Yeah, wow. Insane. I know a lot of you guys out there in the chat are in PANW, so we are currently up about 6%. Very, very nice move. Congrats to the counter trend traders. If you guys were watching our analysis beforehand with Tushar's indicator, it looks like, well, so far it's we'll see. I don't want to speak too soon here because it's starting to give back a little bit of these gains as we
speak. 5 minutes, it'll settle down.
Yep. Now, this is the 1 minute chart, so take all these moves with a grain of salt here. But let's see. The numbers definitely are out. Let me see if I can find them though. And be sure to stick around after we analyze these earnings as well, you guys, because Tushar is going to teach us a ton. He already taught me a ton earlier about the different types of trend following exits that are all built into his indicators. So be sure to stick around. As PANW here is giving back most of its gains that it just made. Now up about 2%. Ooh, now flat. If you guys are seeing numbers, let us know down in the chat below. But yeah, PANW is indeed moving, and now it's down. So pretty wild movement here. Here we go. Here's the numbers. EPS beats and sales beat. We got a double beat. Pretty good beat. EPS of 1.03, beating the 94 cents estimate. Sales beat by like 0.01 billion, so slight beat there, it looks like, but doesn't seem like it was enough to keep the stock price moving up to good here. Now that we have that in, let me go ahead and use our Sidekick AI. If you guys didn't know, this is TrendSpider's Sidekick AI. You can use it to analyze all of the market. It's connected to all of TrendSpider's data, including fundamentals, news, your charts. You can see your indicators. You can read your charts. We're going to ask it what it thinks about this PANW move so far. And we got forward guidance. Ooh,
Yeah, how is that?
Not good. Adjusted EPS for Q3, it's seen about 79 cents versus 92 cents estimate.
Oh.
But sales is good, 2.94 billion versus the 2.6 billion estimate. So they're projecting, good revenue growth, but EPS, you can see for the next few quarters, it's projected to drop pretty significantly there, probably because of that merger or something. As you can see here, decent numbers, slight beat on revenue, good beat on EPS, which is interesting, but major miss on this Q3 guidance. And it says still gives it a hold rating based on this terrible guidance. And yeah, it says wait for stabilization before adding, as we are down about 2% in the after hours session. So yeah, not the greatest look on PANW. See if DVN has any movement. Nothing yet on DVN. NNE. You guys are out there in the chat. Let us know what you guys are watching. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe if you guys are just joining in. PANW just reported not so great earnings today. And so far, if you're using the pair band indicator and you've been short, it's been pretty good. You got your stop loss here at about 190 if you're in the short position. Do you ever short stocks, Tushar, or are you just mostly long?
No, I'm mostly long. I used to trade futures for the longest time. So
yeah,
I did a lot. I obviously shorted the futures markets a lot, or as needed by the indicators. Right. But on the equity side, I really don't short because it's really hard to avoid getting squeezed. There could be a news event that goes against you, and so there's always a liquidity crunch when you need it the most. So I just play defense and don't short on the
Yeah,
equity side anyway.
that makes sense. And do you trade futures still or just stocks these days?
Just stocks. I traded futures for like 25 years, so
Yeah,
I'm just ready to do something else because those markets just run 24 hours a day, and it's you just only do so much for so long.
yeah. No, there's a lot of futures traders out there today. I personally only trade stocks. I know a lot of futures traders though. Would you say trading stocks is for retail specifically better than the futures market, or do you
So
recommend?
so there are like two conflicting drivers here. On the futures side, you have leverage, or you can get like 10-to-1 type leverage. So leverage is a big deal.
Yeah,
But the second fact, whereas on the equity side, you have much less leverage or zero
yeah,
leverage, depending on how you set it up. But the amplitude of the move is much greater on the stock side than it is on the futures side.
right.
So if you look at the historical charts of futures, they would have tremendous high amplitude moves in the 80s and 90s, but now the amplitude of the move has become, in general, compressed because there's a lot of counter trend trading from institutions.
Yeah,
So, as an individual trader, you have the advantage of leverage, but the disadvantage of having smaller or shorter moves on the future side. Whereas on the equity side, you may not have any leverage or may not the same maybe limit on leverage, but the amplitude is significantly greater. So, in terms of risk reward, I think I'd rather have a large amplitude for the move rather than just leverage alone.
yeah, that's fair. That makes complete sense. Yeah, it's a good comparison for sure. Futures interest me. You know, they do have the tax benefits and all that, but you're absolutely right. It's a way different ball game. And I think you're
It's a different ball game, and sometimes depending on the contract, liquidity can be a factor. And
yeah,
then again, my main complaint is that the moves are not as you know huge quote or as sustained as they used to be. Whereas you can get a more sustained move on the equity side. So are you better off with a larger move, or you're better off with more leverage? So
yeah.
it's
There's the
it's
argument too
60
that
this and
like
half a dozen of the other.
uh-huh. And then also like a lot of people say like they just want to master, one instrument. They just want to trade the ES or the NQ. Whereas, stocks, you're constantly having to look, you're constantly having to scan for,
Oh, you have a
rotation.
chance indicator for that, and
Yeah.
the okay. So if you trade a single market, an equity index, you're also trading against pros and against uh, portfolio types who are hedging and affecting the order flow as well as the trading ranges, which have nothing to do with the fundamentals, if you will, because they are using the equity indexes to hedge various things happening in their portfolio. So, in effect, you're being affected by things that have nothing to do with what's happening underlying the index itself.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Especially in the short term, you're literally just trading against algos essentially, right?
Right, you're trading against algos, and the algos are faster. It's very hard to beat an algo if you just go hit click, click, click.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Real quick, DVN just reported earnings.
All
Uh,
right,
yeah, so they had a double beat. EPS
excellent.
82 cents, beating 81 cents, and sales beat at 4.12 billion versus the 3.84 billion. So really good, but they're down. They're down 2% in the after hours session. Still in a decent uptrend though. As you can see, it's been, uptrending. The background has been shaded green on the paraband indicator
Right,
ever since, like basically the end of January, early February. So if
right.
you were to get in back here, you still have about $4 or so of profit per share. But your stop is still pretty well below, around 38. So it will move to a break even sooner than later. Let's see if the overall energy market is reacting. Probably not just to one stock, but let's see a XLE. Yeah,
XLE would be
yeah. It was down today. It was a down day for energy overall today, though.
Yeah.
Mm,
Energy tends to be very volatile as a group because, again, they're responding to risk on, risk off events around the world, right? Because
oh yeah,
any macro event will be reflected in the energy markets.
yep, yeah, 100%. It's an interesting market, especially oil. Like oil futures, very crazy market. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of related to the AI trade because everyone's saying, AI is going to take all this power, which it is, and so that's I think why money is going to or is currently rotating into a lot of these energy stocks. And DVN is definitely up there.
GE Vernova, GEV, I mean, they've been a prime beneficiary of,
Oh yeah,
if you look at the longer term, if you look at a weekly chart, they've had some big moves. Uh, and then I think,
yeah, nice chart here. Nice
right.
chart.
So the idea is that uh, there is huge demand, or there will be huge demand for to power the AI super centers in terms of the gigantic data centers we're going to need to power the AI revolution, and everything has to be built from scratch because today it was a farm, tomorrow there's going to be a huge structure there with a zillion chips running hot. So
Yeah,
there will be demand for them, but again, everything is a matter of timing, and then competition from say nuclear or competition from uh, some other like coal, for example. But I think ultimately the question becomes, can you locate a data center, in the middle of Australia where there's lots of sun and you can get as much solar energy as you want, and drive a data center, and does it really matter where the data center is?
yeah, yeah. Sorry, over here dying right now.
I'm sorry.
um, But yeah, they actually reported earnings not too long ago as well. GE Vernova here, and they had, I think, pretty good reports ever since earnings. Flipped to green here, shaded background, signaling a long trade here on the paraband indicator. Move these lines. So yeah, again, if you look at the weekly, it's been trending absolutely beautifully ever since really the inception of the stock.
Right,
Um, Pretty nice, I guess you call it like bull flag setups. You got uptrend, followed by
right.
some consolidation and breakout, consolidation, breakout, and it just keeps on going. So
And this is one of the classic technical analysis that you would typically poo-poo, said, who sees flags anymore, blah blah. But there they are.
right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, it's clear as day right here. I mean, even if you look at like some of these memory names like SNDK, kind of the same thing. Like
Oh,
this beautiful setup. Even like SL, like silver and gold, and silver and gold have had some of the like the most classic looking cup and handle setups that really the market has like ever seen. I feel like it's beautiful like setup right here. So definitely still at least worth paying attention to some of these patterns. Absolutely. Speaking of metals, gold was down pretty good today. Did hit the stop here on the paraband indicator, and I believe, yeah, we were talking about silver earlier, also down. So metals
right.
have been taking a breather.
Yeah, typically what happens is that when you get a major trend break like silver, the market has to consolidate for several months before they can really go higher,
Yep.
because there's a lot of uh, energy that's been used up. So if you think of it like a spring, the market compresses and then releases the energy, you get a trend, and the spring expands all the way to its limit. Now you have to again recompress the string or the spring before you have a new trend. So there's a lot of uh, major trend break means major consolidation.
Yep. Yeah. And if follow the right system, you probably stopped out at this point, hopefully. And yeah,
Uh,
like Tushar said, you're just basically waiting for a new consolidation, a new kind of base to form, and then seeing what happens from there, right?
right, and you can use something like a chat scan to find something else to trade.
Yeah,
So there's no shortage of opportunities. It's mostly a
of
matter
course.
of finding them and trading them.
Yeah. And people are saying there's a bunch of news coming out for AMD and NVIDIA. If you look at AMD in the after hours session here, there is most definitely some stuff happening. We're seeing minus
Hmm.
3.38% on
It's a
AMD.
big after hours move recently.
Yeah. Let's see NVIDIA. And NVIDIA's up. So we got
Oh,
NVIDIA up, AMD down. It says someone's saying out there in the chat, NVIDIA and Meta forge multi-year AI data center partnership. Oh, interesting. So it sounds like Meta and NVIDIA partner. Let's look at Meta. And Meta and NVIDIA partnered on something here, causing these movements in AMD to go down.
so maybe they rather than going with the AMD, I guess their MI chip, they must be using using NVIDIA chips. So that's why you get a reaction, opposite
Yep.
reactions.
Yep.
Can I just stream my side chart on NVIDIA for just one
Yeah.
second?
Yeah. Share it and then I can throw it up there. I don't see it down there yet.
Yeah, just give me a second.
All good. All good. Let's see. PANW. Yeah, PANW down 6%, unfortunately, here due to guidance. So if you guys are just joining in, PANW is down due to weak guidance. But I'm going to throw Tushar's charts up right now. We're going to take a look at NVIDIA here.
So this is NVIDIA, and what's interesting here is that let's just expand this out. People won't know what I'm talking about. So if you uh, if you think of an inside bar, you essentially have uh, a bar to the left with a higher high and a lower low, and a bar within, or the next bar has a lower high and a higher low. So you have an inside bar, and this is a very common occurrence that happens over and over again. But what I want to highlight is what I call a distributed inside bar, and I'm calling it a popsicle pattern. So if you look on the right-hand side, I've essentially drawn a popsicle. And if you look at what happened to NVIDIA in the 4 days after their earnings announcement in November, so I think they announced on November 19th, and over the next 4 days, there was a huge sell-off. And the high of that 4 day range and the low of that 4 day range has contained the entire price action for the next, say, 3 months.
Yep.
So in effect, the 4 day sell-off has frozen prices for the next 3 months or approximately 3 months. So this is really a distributed inside bar because the first 4 bars after the report will give you the outside bar range, and then everything after that was an inside the range at price action. So I'm really calling this a popsicle pattern, if you will, because the sell-off after the earnings in November, or the earnings announcement in November, has frozen price action for the next 3 months. So it's kind of an interesting idea to have this popsicle pattern. And then the question now becomes, when will the popsicle melt? So when we come back for the NVIDIA discussion next week, I'll show you additional research I've done. But I just want you to understand that these candlestick patterns, which we traditionally think of as, say, 2 or 3 or 4 bars on daily data, can actually extend for many, many, many bars. And so that's kind of a distributed pattern, but nonetheless following the same basic ideas of what the traditional pattern should look like. And if I just expand this out a little bit, let's just so this is an inside bar. We have a higher high, lower low. This bar had a lower high and a higher low. And this occurred near the quote high end of the move. We got a move down from that. And then here we have another inside bar because there's a higher low and a lower high, but that led to a bounce up. So going back to this idea of melting sort of a popsicle, I'm hoping that since we had a sell-off going into this pattern, and just like the base here, we should get a melt up from here. So that's sort of my big picture look at what's happening with the NVIDIA in the context of candlestick patterns. And hopefully that was kind of an interesting way of looking at what's been happening ever since the earnings release in November.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Like as you said, it really hasn't gone much of a whole lot of anywhere, and it's just been trading in that consolidation range. So you're expecting this, or based on this pattern, thinking that it will go to the upside. as opposed to the downs because it's consolidating, right? So traders are looking
It's
for it to go
consolidating.
great.
So let's take a step back. So if you think of the price action here, let me just turn this off. If you think of the price action here, right, we had this pretty strong sell-off in the broad market where we had a spike in the VIX. So there was a pretty significant move down in the market as a whole, and yet the prices didn't break through the lower edge of this range at 169.55. So let's just say 169,
Yeah,
and that I'm taking that as a positive sign that we were not able to go down through the lower end of the range.
it's true.
But in all honesty, I don't really know what it's going to do because it depends very much on what earnings they report next week.
Right.
People are expecting again a beat and a guide higher, and maybe a guide into the mid 75 billion range, is it plus minus, and then maybe a margin of 74.1 or 75.1%. So the profit margin is going to be important. And then, of course, they're expecting a 2 billion beat to maybe 66 billion. So I think it depends very much on what they report and how the guidance is for the rest of the year. And ideally, the guidance should be good, quote, because of the hyperscalers are spending something like 660 billion
Oh
on
yeah,
building out the
2026.
infrastructure. We have the Rubin chip coming on in the fall, potentially the H200 sales to China. So I think the guidance or the story for the rest of the year should be good. But there's a lot of very very short term trading, and so it all depends on what the I guess what the build up is or the puts and calls around the
Right.
earnings announcement, etc. So it's really hard to tell. But just I guess from a standalone analysis point of view, given that the price targets are in the 250 to 300 range, that we should have a melt up. And as I said, if we have sort of a inside bar occurring at the lower end of the range, and hopefully it'll melt up. But I'm looking for a melt up. But next week the earnings can be super volatile, and we
Yeah.
could definitely retest the bottom of the range.
No, absolutely. But you're right. It's held up pretty nicely, even though it's consolidating. Um, it's held in there. It's held in there very nice. Here, let me throw my screen up. I have
Okay,
actually Nvidia up.
you can show your screen. So again, it's an example of where there's so much short-term trading that it just depends on how the short-term traders stack up and how the algos stack up at that moment, and they could certainly push it lower.
Yeah. And if you look at the weekly here, I mean, it's still hanging in there. Like actually just recently on the pair band hit the weekly stop, but then it got right back in, it looks like, right? Or the
Right. So whenever it takes off, rather it goes through a trailing stop on the weekly data, I
uh
always get a little worried because it tells me that that the selling pressure is significant. So I think we are because of this popsicle pattern, we are at a very critical point that can only be resolved with how the next earnings come out, and more than the earnings is the guidance. And I
right.
have no idea what they're going to say, and more importantly, I have no idea how the market is going to react to what they will say. So it's really anybody's guess.
Yeah. Yeah. If you guys didn't know, Nvidia reports earnings next week, and me and Tushar will be live for it in real time watching it. So you guys make sure you subscribe and like this video and come back next week because I mean Nvidia, it's going to be, it's basically the last big company to report earnings for the quarter. All the other big players like Meta, Microsoft, all those guys have already reported. So, with the Nvidia tightening up, with SPY itself, tightening up along with QQQ, it could definitely be setting up for a pretty big move. So, definitely will want to keep an eye on Nvidia's earnings next week. It'll be a pretty significant catalyst, of course. If you look at, like the earnings growth, the revenue here has been phenomenal. It's projected to continue to grow. And as Tushar said, they're going to release guidance on how they expect to grow further in the future. So, ideally, that doesn't change. They're expecting to grow right now. Probably will expect to grow in the future. I mean, I can't imagine with all the 2026 CapEx, they're going to say they're not going to be growing. I mean, they pretty much almost guaranteed revenue for an entire year. So, I don't know. We'll see what
And this
happens,
is
though.
a sort of a fascinating question. So on the one side, we have technical analysis, like we are doing moving averages or
Right.
whatever. And then on the other hand, you have fundamental analysis where they're looking at the balance sheet and the earnings statement and making projections, what the revenues might be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you assume a 40% compounded annual growth rate, and assuming that NVIDIA reports a number around 213 billion next week for their fiscal 26 revenue, so in 4 years, by 2030, the revenue could be in the range of 750, $800 billion a year. So so the question becomes, what is a reasonable estimate for the compounded growth rate that NVIDIA will deliver over the next 4 years till to 2030? And for some people, 40% may be low. They expect more like 50 or 60%. And certainly it seems to me that a rate like 20-25% is low. I just think that they're growing much higher than that. So I picked a number like 40% or 40% annual compounded growth rate.
Yeah.
And that puts you in the range of 700 to $800 billion of revenue per year. And then if you use that as a scale, then the stock price should also be proportionately higher. And maybe you get a stock price number like 700 or 800. Now the question is, A, we don't know what's going to happen, but B, are you willing to patiently hold and sit through the inevitable ups and downs that will occur over the next 4 years to find out what the number will be, at the end of 2030?
Yep. And there's also, the competition risk. They got different, names they're competing against, like such as AMD and other chip manufacturers, of course. So it's a lot of different factors too.
Yeah, I mean, I understand there's great uncertainty, projecting out into the future. So I picked a number like 40%,
which is a good, reasonable number. Like you can see they were
which is
growing
not
like
ridiculously high and then not ridiculously low. Like 5% would be too low, obviously, for NVIDIA. They're going to grow, much more than that. So the question is, what's a reasonable guess on what the CAGR will be for NVIDIA looking out to 2030? And are you willing to, hold it for that long?
Right. And then depending on, that's fundamentals. And then you have to look at the chart and see, even if the fundamentals are holding in there, the stock price can be moving down. It can be breaking through your stop loss. You got to manage your risk at the same time, unless you're just, a long-term investor, which, I don't know. What do you think about, just long-term investing in companies? Is that something you do, Tushar? Or you mostly,
Oh, I have no hesitation in owning, in investing long-term. I've had some, stuff in my holding for many decades.
Yeah.
So it really boils down to, I think people need to have different portfolios, and each portfolio needs to have a different, driving function or goal. And then, and certainly for a portion of your holdings, I think it makes sense to hold them for the long term. And then for some portion of your holdings, you may want to, trade, i.e., at whatever level you feel reasonable. But again, if you want to take a counter trend view, the world is going to shorter and shorter holding periods. As people are trading on a shorter and shorter term horizon. Then the counter term view is, maybe you need to hold for the long term, because if everybody is going short term, you should do the opposite and hold for the long term.
No, it's fair.
But they come with different sets of risks, obviously.
Of course.
As you just pointed out, we don't know what the world will be like in 4 years, and there'll be competition and so on. But you have to remember that a company like NVIDIA is not afraid of competition. I mean, they've had competition at every step for their entire existence. So the mere fact that they're competitors is not going to affect them, is not going to keep them awake at night, that somebody else is going to build a chip or not build a chip.
Right.
So I'm not that worried about the competitive. They will compete with anybody and everybody and compete really, really well. So that's the least of the worries. So I think that's a fundamental, it's a good question to ask yourself, that if everyone else is going very, very short term and short term is getting, intraday, then should at least some portion of your capital be allocated to a long-term strategy, which is counter trend, right? Because there's some value to being counter trend.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. That's, I'm the lowest time frame I trade on these days is the daily chart. It also, it's a lot, I wouldn't say it's easier, but you have a lot more time to decide your entries and exits. You don't have to sit there glued to the screen. You can use the chats to find stocks at night and, enter as you will at night, say your order's up. So yeah, there's merits to all different types of strategies, but you make a good point. Everyone is looking to be in the short term. Why not go against that, be in the long term? Also, curious what you think now about these memory names, like Micron, STX. They've been interesting. They've been starting to consolidate. We see MU here. Yeah, STX
Right.
been consolidating on this
So,
daily chart for a while now. So,
right. Uh, from purely fundamental point of view, the demand for memory chips is incredible. Most of them have sold out their production for this year and possibly next year, and they are trying to bring more production online. But you can't do it overnight. It takes a year or two to bring that stuff online, and the demand is not going to go away anytime soon. So I think that for the chip business, they are a prime beneficiary of this whole AI trade, if you will, because they're producing a unique product and they can sell every single chip or memory chip that they can make. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is the market obviously has to discount that. And if you look at the weekly chart, you can see that the market has done has raised the prices significantly over the last 2 years. So the market has responded to the scarcity by bidding up the price. So now the question becomes, is the trend over? Is the trend going to continue? Will it continue at a lower rate? That is, it won't climb quite as rapidly, but will continue to climb and so on. So this again, my short answer is that the trend is up. The trend is strong. If you look at weekly data or daily data, the chat indicator that 100, we're in the green. So at this point, all you can do is own the object and put in your trading stop. I mean, there's nothing else to do instead of trying to outguess the market and say that this is the top, but that's the top.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree. I traded MU and SNDK and eventually hit the trail stops on those. Looks like your indicators did as well, with SNDK recently and MU. And then I just like you said, I wanted to get back in. I didn't want to miss out on another potential leg up of the memory cycle.
Right.
And I got back in, and you can see the trailing stops are still below price here on STX and I think WDC. So still opportunities there to get in. And like you said,
right.
Something always. Or go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say something you said that always has stuck with me ever since you said it is, you see this trend and it's like sometimes it's hard to buy and get in. It's like it's gone up so much, but you said the risk of not getting in is greater than the risk of just getting stopped out. And that's something that I've really just loved. That's a great quote in trend following.
Yeah, it's I call it the COMO. There's the cost of missing an opportunity is much greater than the COTO, the cost of taking the opportunity.
Right.
And the thing is, in your life, if you miss one or two of these critical opportunities or take this critical opportunity, that has a dramatic effect on your portfolio returns over a 10-year period or over a 5-year period. So sometimes you just have to hold your nose and buy the thing, even though you open the newspaper or look at the website and there are 50 people saying it's overbought. It's overbought
Right.
the whole way up. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Overbought has no value, no meaning.
Yeah. Now I've seen people on X. There's going to be people doing everything, but there's a lot of people trying to go short in these names right now. Like MU, they're like, oh, it's parabolic, it's blow off top, it's time, it's going to crash. It's like, I mean, like, yeah, maybe eventually it's going to, right? Like, I don't know how hard it's going to crash, but the trend is going to stop one day. But I think it's just going to be really, really crazy to
Can I
try to
just
guess
share
that.
my screen for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
Let me just share my screen for a second.
Yep. But yeah, if you just take the emotions out of it, just hop in, set up your system, your stops.
Okay, so I'm just going to put SNDK.
Yeah, let's do it.
And okay, I'm just going to remove this. And then what I'm going to do here is
by the way, guys, the links to all of Tushar's indicators are down below in the first link in the description if you wanted to check them out. We've been using them the entire time here. definitely check them out.
So here I'm showing the para band plus indicator. I just want to play some games with the speed of the exit.
Okay.
So if I come over here, and it allows me to set the maximum byte, that is, what is the maximum chunk I want to take out of it.
Yeah.
And this is the ramp length. That's how I want to ramp up. So I'm going to keep the maximum length at 0.2 or 20%, but I'm going to change this to, say, 50 days. Just it's going to move faster. So you see that if this is daily data for SNDK. So if I use a different speed of exit, I would have exited over there, right?
Yep.
And if so, when you say has a trend ended, has the market topped? The short answer is that the trend has ended if it has come back and hit my stop. The trend can resume, the market can go higher or lower, but for the duration of this move, that it has ended because it came back and hit my stop.
Okay.
So then it all boils down to how are you defining your stop, right?
Right.
So for example, I can come over here and instead of 50, I'm going to put 150, which would kind of slow things down, and then my stop is over there. So, when you say that has a trend ended, it depends on how you define your trading stop. And I think it's very important for people to kind of think in terms of a trading stop instead of trying to decide that this is a high or that's the high. I mean, you may get it right every now and then, but if you had to say that I'm going to call the exact high for every single thing I trade for the next 10 years, well, the probability of that is zero. So you're better off just using a trading stop and saying, the trend is quote over where it hits my stop. So then it boils down to what are your trading stops, how are you defining a trading stop, and what's the philosophy of the trading stop. So for example, here, the philosophy is that the stop moves faster the longer you are in the trade. So and of course, as I just showed you, you can change the speed of the exit. And there's some mystery about what the right value is, and we don't really know. So you can end up using default values. And then here you can say that, well, it's probably going to hit my trading stop tomorrow or something. If it hasn't hit it today, if I'm using this particular speed. So always think in terms of, sure, the fundamentals say that they should go much higher, but the technicals, i.e. other traders, are not willing to pay up for it. Then, if it comes down, I have to get out and trade something else. So it's a matter of being willing to accept that, maybe the market has changed its mind and, I need to find something else.
Yeah. No, it kind of goes inverse. I watched a video over the weekend of a trader. I'm sure you know him, Mark Minervini. He was talking about how he started his career, looking into fundamentals. And then as soon as he found something that looked great, the stock had already made the move. And so when he flipped it around, he scanned for the momentum first, like using your chats. He's like, all right, now I'm finding names as they're starting to move. And before that's priced in with fundamentals. So that kind of clicked.
Right. I mean, let's just put the different indicator here. So I'm just going to put I'm just change the color here so it's easier to see.
Yeah.
So this is the adaptive band indicator. I call it the breakout buddy. So it's BOB or parabob, and I put para in the name just to remind me that I've got this parabolic indicator running on it. But if you look at this, the adaptive channel, when the prices go outside the channel, it turns green, right?
Yep.
So if you look at SNDK, we had one breakout over here that went down forever and we got stopped out. Now you could say it's overbought, it's never going to trade again, whatever. And now look, it broke out, and then our chats indicator at 100 right here, right at the start of or near the breakout. So that gives you additional confirmation or confidence, if you will, on putting on this trade. So one has to sort of allow the market to work randomly. You have to remember that the market is random, i.e., it's responding to information that's coming into the market, and the information itself arrives randomly. Like the Meta announcement with NVIDIA today.
Right.
They already knew about it last week or maybe many weeks ago, but it arrives in the market today at random. And so the market now has to adapt to it and react, pushing this higher and that lower or whatever. So the point is that the randomness of the market should not be underestimated, which means that you have to give the market price to move, room to move. And the way this indicator is designed, when you have the initial breakout, you have a wide stop, and then as it accelerates, it tightens as you go towards the quote end of the trend. So again, these are philosophies in terms of how you design an entry and an exit combination. And this just tells you that rather than trying to outguess the market, you're better off just using the same set of rules. And
Right.
I think that these rules are robust, i.e., the same rules can be used on any indicator or any symbol, whether it's a futures contract or an ETF or a stock, because we're not making we're applying the same rules, and we're not making any market specific or symbol specific assumptions.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how you
Yeah.
change the speed of the trailing stop. Would you say that it's important to use like a similar speed for all of your trades?
Right. I mean, I just use a say. Let's get out of. So here, for example, the default speed is 1,
Yeah.
right? And let's just change the default speed to 3 here, just for an idea. So default moves much faster and gets you out over there, right?
Hmm.
So you can say, look, on this particular trade, 3 worked really well, so I should be using 3. And yes, you can use that, but ultimately, in terms of say, let's use the 2 for an alternative. So if you're using 2 would still be going on, and you still have some, you'd be reasonably close, but you'd have some gap. And then if you use 1, that'll be running the slowest. So again, if you say that I want to hold this thing as long as possible, then you would use 1 as a speed. But again, remember, there'll be a larger pullback before your trading stop is hit if it's moving more slowly. So again, it's a matter of philosophy. If you want to make life easy, you can just use a speed of 1 and say, it'll be work great on some trades and not so great on other trades, and I don't want to worry about it. Or you can use 2, which is a little bit faster. So the short answer is, I like to use the same speed. I just use 1 as a default, and I don't think about it too much. But I realized that on some trades, I wish I had used a faster speed, and on other trades, I wish I had used a slower speed. So the markets are random. I'm not going to be perfect every single time. It's more important for me to be in the right symbol, in the right market, in the right stock, than to worry about precisely where I got out. So
Yeah.
that's an example of a slightly different philosophy, rather than trying to that I got the exact low or the exact high of the move.
Yeah, of course, because you're never going to be able to guess it right. But do you ever change from one, or do you stick to one all the time?
Uh, Sometimes I'll use 2, and then if I have a lot of profits on the thing, then I'll
Fair.
go to 3 and get out sort of faster. But then, for example, let's come over here. Let's put 3 over here. Just for argument's sake. Suppose I had used 3 over here, and I got stopped out over there. Now, I had a whole re-entry problem. And what's a
Right.
re-entry? So then you say, well, it's green, it's a re-entry, then I got to buy it when it rallies here or there. Now I'm long again, let's say, but now my stop is way down there, right? So now maybe I locked in this profit, but I'm going to give up some of it wherever this goes, and I don't know where it's going to go, and I get stopped out.
Yeah.
So one of the downsides of using a faster exit is now you have to grapple with re-entry.
Yeah.
So in a way, when you say that, I like to use 1 because, if it's going to be a long sustained move, I'm going to capture most of it. I don't have to grapple with re-entries all the time, and so on. So again,
Yeah.
it's a matter of your individual comfort level. But the idea is that you have a consistent process, and you use the same thing over and over again, and that'll help you significantly over the long term. If I just take a slight detour,
Yeah.
so the way you have to think about this is that you're not just doing 1 trade. Your goal is to do 100 trades or 200 trades or 500 trades. And then if you're thinking in terms of 500 trades, the process that you use, how do you choose what to trade, and how do you choose how much to trade, and how do you choose when to enter and when to exit, plays a huge role. Though on any one given trade out of those 500 trades, it may not have performed optimally, but
Yeah.
over 500 trades, it'll have a significant impact.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, you hear it all the time. It's one thing to say, I'm going to have these rules and follow it, but it's one thing to do it in practice and actually do it. Like you said, across
It's very
500
difficult.
trades, 10
When I was a
years.
professional trader, I followed these rules, whatever system I had, without a single deviation for 15 years. And it's really difficult. I promise you, it's not easy.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, 100%. But that's awesome to hear that you've been in the game for a long time, and so
It's not easy because it's against human psychology. There's so much information being, uh, dumped on you. So here's another way to look at it. You can only trade what you believe. If you don't believe, you're going to get out. You just can't stay in the trade. And the market every day is challenging your belief. The market is asking you, what do you believe? Do you want to stay in? Do you want to get out? Do you want to trade this way or that way or whatever? So
yep,
the market is challenging your beliefs every single day.
yeah,
And so it's a test every day, even though you're even not doing something is doing something. That is, you've not changed your position, or you've not stepped out of the position, or you're not added to the position, etc. So even not doing something is something, doing something.
yeah.
And the market will challenge you every single day and ask you, what do you believe?
And if you have the rules, it makes it a lot easier, right? So a
Yes,
lot of
it's less stressful, in my opinion, if you can
100%.
follow a set of rules.
Yeah, because a lot of new traders, they come into the markets, they're seeing all these different things, crossovers, this, that, counter trend. They don't they don't know what to believe in, and until you pick something and stick with it over time, like if you keep combining a bunch of different stuff into one, you're going to get a lot, like a mixed bag of results, and probably not the greatest performance. But if you just pick something, believe in it, stick with it over the long term, I think a lot of
Right.
that's
Let me just
where it clicks for a lot of people.
let me just do one thing. And sorry, uh, let's
Yeah, no worries.
minimize this. Uh, can I just show a couple of slides
Of
here?
course. Yeah.
So I'm calling this the fire drill. I'm calling the flexible integrated rapid exits, just to answer the very question that you just raised. And for a new trader, there are several critical questions, um, and one of them is what to trade, and
Yep.
then how to trade, which means you need to have entry rules, exit rules, or trade sizing rules. And in terms of what to trade, you can use the chats indicator. We've talked about the chat scans before, just to help you find things that are trending strongly. And then when we were looking at SNDK, I showed you the para band indicator, the para bob indicator, or the para band indicator. So you can have adaptive channels of bands. So in terms of entry rules, you want to say I want to be above the band or below the band, and then exit rules, right? And the beauty of what the para band and the para bob is that we have integrated the entry rules and the exit rules into a single indicator, so that you can just see them
Right.
plotted out for you. And remember, they're plotted one day back. So tomorrow's exit is available today. So there's a 1 day lag in how we are plotting. And of course, you need to understand your risk profile in terms of how much to trade. And the farmer is a fully adaptive moving average. You can use it as a stop, or then there's a PALS. We showed that, which is a parabolic long only exit connected to a channel. And then I've shown you the bob and the band in terms of the parabolic exits.
Yep.
And again, with a 1 day delay. And if I just run through the next few slides quickly, I use GoDaddy here on weekly data because we had this huge move up and a huge move down, so kind of a round trip. And when we look at the chart in retrospect, we know, of course, it's obvious, we know where the high was.
Yeah.
But in real time, you don't. There's no way to know. And that's why you need an exit. So let's just run through a couple. So this is the pharma band, just with the pharma moving average with the band set to 0. So we're just looking at the moving average itself. And on this weekly data, it gave a fantastic exit, very, very close to the high of the move using default values. So I've not tweaked the values in any way. Just I've reduced the bandwidth to 0. So you can just focus only on the moving average. And you see this the pharma indicator by itself would have been a fabulous exit on this one.
Yeah.
And then this is the PALS, again, speed of 1. So you see it would have exited there. You'd have to re-enter, and then you'd have exited with a roughly flat move, but we don't know when it's going to exit. And then here, just to show you that the interesting thing about the PALS exit is that the starting point is connected to the lower channel. So we're starting from the lower channel and moving towards the prices. And then the step can be non-linear. So if you look here in the second entry, the step size can be huge as the market makes a move.
Yeah.
And then this is the Chande Kroll exit. Now here we have connected the exit to the upper band. So in the PAL's exit, the connection was to the lower channel. Here we have connected to the upper channel. And again, you can make big moves when we make new highs and then flatten out when the market goes sideways, like it's flat down here at the beginning. Now, the thing to remember is that the volatility increases as the trend goes on. So the exit was wider at the end of the trade. So we gave up a little bit, more money getting out, but nonetheless, it kept you in for the entire duration of the trade. And this is very important because there are like a million voices saying it's overbought and this and that, but you ignore all that and just keeps you in the trade along the major direction, and captures a good amount of profit. So again, exits and entries working together in a cohesive way. And same thing here. You see the formula is the highest high minus some constant times volatility. So it depends on how much of a pullback you get, and also how you define volatility. And then of course the short side exit is short plus some constant times volatility. And this yellow bar here shows you that this is the high, and we are some distance below the high, and that distance is a function of a constant times the volatility. So again, a relatively straightforward but robust exit, and you can use the same values for everything. This is the para bob indicator because we have the breakout buddy breakout, and then again you see the speed is 1. It starts at the bottom, the lower channel, and advances very nicely. And we exit, a decent exit, not extraordinary, but would have taken you out well before this downtrend. And then this is again the adaptive price channel, and we've integrated the exit. So now we have the long exit and the short exit, as opposed to the PALs, which is long only. And then this is the same chart, but now we have the bands rather than the channels. And then here again, the exit is tied, the long exit is tied to the lower band. And again, the same speed roughly, so the same exit location roughly. And then this is the adaptive pharma bands, and the exit is tied to the upper band for shorts and lower band for longs. And then this is what I was telling you about. This is the para band plus indicator, where you can mess with the speed. And again, I showed you this already, but that's a fabulous exit. This is an unbelievably great exit. If you can, because it took you through the entire trade and got you out very close to the top. You couldn't have done it any better, by hand or manually. And then this again, this is some default speed, but you have used higher and lower speed. And then this is just an example of where if I change the byte size from 20% to 25%, I would have exited at a slightly lower point. So it would have been worse rather than better, but I still would have exited, pretty close to the high of the move. Same thing with the para band indicator and so on. And this is like a summary table where I can compare the different things. So the main thing to understand is that you can have standalone entries, standalone exits, or integrated entries and integrated exits. And then you can decide whether you want to have fixed speed or variable speed. And you can decide how you want the stop to move. Do you want it to have a large space in the beginning and less space at the end, or constant space throughout, and so on? So a lot of design choices, but I have they're all available on TrendSpider. Some of them are unique to SpenSpider, and very nicely indicated, robust. So if you're getting started, this is a terrific choice. Saves you a whole lot of research on your own, and it's a very good starting point, and pretty robust. You're not sensitive to the rules being dependent on optimization on a single symbol.
Right.
And then this I'll wrap up with NVIDIA on 3-minute chart. I know I showed you all those things on a weekly chart, but the formula is robust, and it can apply on any time frame. And I'm just showing 3 minutes for completeness. So that's kind of the idea here. The idea is that if you can integrate your entries and exits, then you can get a really powerful set of rules that you can test, that you can just play with, and understand how they're working. Because I told you, the market is going to test what you believe, and if you don't believe in these rules, you can't trade them for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah. No, absolute masterclass in trend following there, Tushar. That was amazing. Definitely will probably clip that out, put it on YouTube. If you guys missed it or want to go rewatch it, definitely going to clip that out. So be on the lookout for that.
And for the average trader, trend following is really, if you're serious about your trading and you want to do it for the next 5 years, I would suggest trend following, really.
Yeah, no, it's pretty timeless. Like you said, it works on It can work on all symbols. It's just all about what you trade, and that's where chats comes in.
Correct.
Quickly wanted to show, I think I had a scanner up right here. If you guys want to figure out, so that's like, kind of how you trade, where you get in, where you get out. And then if you want to scan for stocks, of like how to, like what to trade, you can use the chats indicator right here. Just put it into the market scanner and then, search for maybe chats index greater than a constant value of maybe 90. And then here in the market scanner, you can sort it by the highest chats to the lowest. On the right, you can combine it with relative performance. You can put your own custom indicators, whatever you want to do. And then that is basically how you can find stocks to put on your radar, and then go ahead and stick the indicators on your chart right there. There's a lot of different things too, like, fall and rotations. Like you can use the sector ETFs, like XLI, for example, has been trending really nicely. Recently, XLE has been trending up. And then you can search within these sectors for the strongest names. So, there's a lot of different ways to trade, and it's all here on TrendSpider.
Yes.
So all the stuff is pre-built for you guys. Like, make it really easy. Honestly, like Tushar is all
And I tell you, it's easy to underestimate the power of the scanning function in TrendSpider. It's really incredibly powerful. And just being able to say that, show me everything in a particular sector or in a particular ETF, or an index. So right away, you can reduce the size of the universe. And right away, you don't have to look through a million symbols every day or every night.
Yeah. I literally just created one parameter here. That's all you need to do. You just create a new one, chats index greater than, like 90. And then here you can change it.
And just pick whatever, sector you want to scan.
S&P, you can go to energy. We have, several different energy lists here. We got S&P energy, we got energy that includes mid caps, small caps, large cap, all of it. Whatever you want to trade. Super, super nice. You can type in industrials, whatever you want to trade.
Right.
So
let's just run industrials just for the heck of it. Just
let's see.
See, like you have HON, TN, right?
Let's see.
See again, the it's like instant. It's so fast. It's ridiculously great.
Yeah, no, it is. And you can run this. You can set this on a schedule too. Once you click like save right here, you can click right here and run this on a schedule. You can have all of it sent to your email every day. If you want.
It's an unbelievable tool. I can't tell you how incredible it is. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, it's truly insane. Again,
it is insane. It's like the thing is, you'd have to hire 15 people to look through the charts by hand. You can do this in 1 second, or half a second.
Yeah, imagine if like you've been trading like for years now. Like this stuff is all pretty new to the markets, right? There's never been a way to do this, has there? Like,
no, I mean there was no so there was a time in the land before time, as I say. You couldn't get data, so right away you had a problem. Then the cost of trading was humongous. You had to spend $80, $90, $100 just to trade one lot of 100 shares, stuff like that. So I mean, the technology, the cost, the tools, they have evolved so massively that you should take advantage of them. And in case of my tools, they're built on years and years of experience, and it's fully integrated. You can scan with them. It's like unbelievable. It saves you so much time. Then now but you still come down to the same thing. What do you believe? The market is going to ask you tomorrow, what do you believe?
Yeah. Even though the tools exist, a lot of people, I mean, if you're not using them, you're way behind. You're way behind in the markets these days.
Right. And the market will ask everyone exactly the same question. What do you believe today?
Yeah. I love it. And look at all these beautiful setups. So you just click through this, and you got the indicator up here, and you just looking through the high chats.
Look at Honeywell. Honeywell was like, I think we have a Honeywell controller on our furnaces. We're probably touching them, 5 times a day in the winter. And, this had a nice move.
No, beautiful. And, if you just ran these scans every day, like you can even probably combine You may not even need to, but you could probably combine, chats with this paraband indicator. Let's take a look
Oh
here,
yeah,
actually.
absolutely. You can combine anything with anything.
Yeah, you
And
set a new group, and you have all these different lines you can use in the scanner right here. It's insane.
I mean, the scanning function is absolutely amazing, just amazing.
I believe it's this. Price has broke through it. I'm not sure. Do you know what the what would actually be the entry signal in this, Tushar? Would it be
You'd have to get the index line.
the high
So
band?
the low above the upper band, for example.
It's called the high band, it looks like. Let's see.
Yeah, the high band, right? The low above the high band.
Indicator daily. So we got the
low
paraband and then high band.
Right, high band.
So this is
less than
than
the low.
the price.
The low. Price
daily
low, whatever.
low.
Daily low. Right.
And there you go. Now you have an even better scanner. Now you're searching for stuff that literally you can enter any of this technically if you just follow these rules. It's all going to be above this high band.
There, right? And now imagine you're above the band and you have a chats of 100,
Yeah, you can just do that in 2 seconds. There you go.
I mean, the power of the scanning is just mind-boggling, totally mind-boggling.
No charts? Maybe because it's like 99.999. Let's see. Somebody asked how much these indicators cost. Some of them are free. Chats is actually free. Some of them are paid.
Right.
Let me
only
see.
They're only a few bucks a month. I mean, if you can make one great trade, you paid for it for the next 10 years.
They all differ. Just depending on what you need. You can start with the free ones. Absolutely. The chats is built in.
Yeah, the chats is free.
I dropped the link for you guys down there in the chat. And then, of course, it comes with the market scanner as well. TrendSpider, by the way, is 45% off right now for the highest plan. So if you guys wanted to try out the platform, you'll get a good deal on it now. And then,
it's incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and you can make this scan as crazy
and
as
you can travel. You can do it sitting, sipping a margarita or a pina colada on a beach in the Bahamas. I mean, there's no limit.
No, absolutely, especially on the daily or the weekly. You can look at your trades, you can look at your scan every night, every morning, whatever you like. Even once a week, if you turn on the weekly chart. I mean,
right. I mean, if you're working, for Meta or Nvidia, you can trade just once a week. You don't have to look every day. You can just do it over the weekend.
Honestly, yeah, that's why trend following is so great. Great way to trade, and TrendSpider makes it very easy to do. Very easy to do. You can even just like set up alerts on the stop loss. You don't even have to look. You just right click it. You can do breakthrough and touch.
Right.
And so once the trade hits the stop, you'll just get a notification on your phone. You can put in your sell order. You can even use Signal Stack to sell it for you. That's actually what I do. I just set a trailing stop or an alert on the trailing stop, and then it literally just sells it for me. Pretty insane stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
no, the technology is mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, let us know down below. But we'll probably call it there mostly. I mean, that was an absolutely great session here with Tushar on trend following and just the markets. Let's see if PANW has made any other moves.
Still lower. So yeah, still in the red.
Yeah, pretty red. Someone's asking, can you tell us about all of your bots? I don't really run bots per se. I just set up alerts personally. You can use a bot. You can set up a bot, just like the scanner to where it automatically enters trades that are breaking above and then set it on specific symbols. But you don't have to. I mean, you can just use alerts too. I think it's probably a little bit easier just to create an alert and then just wait for the alert to come through. That way, you can just manually decide when to get in and not based on the alerts. But I can show you how they work. Like if we go to the strategy tester, we can add a condition where it literally enters paraband high band is less than the price low. So that's your entry, right? And then you set your exit. I'll just do price Would you use lower or close for the exit?
Yeah, low, less than.
The
Through it to it. If it goes below the stop, you get out.
Yeah, so low. Price is less than, indicator, paraband. Was it the what is this?
LX exit.
LX. There we go. Yep, LX stop.
Right.
And we can just set this up. Let's see if I did it right this first time. Let's go on something that has looked pretty. That was actually really good. This should work right here. Yeah, I mean, if you use this on, like SNDK, you actually exit it there, and then anytime above the high band you're in, and it just waits for it to get stopped. Yeah, I guess it didn't actually technically stop you out there. But that's how you do a bot. And then from there you can just deploy it. And yeah, you can set it to your broker via webhook, or just send you the text messages to get in and out. Either way. So, and then if you guys have any more questions too about setting this stuff up on your own, you have the contact us button right here. We have a very good support team that could easily help you out. And yeah, that's pretty much that. And you can see the back test data here as well if you want to get into testing. You can see the equity curve, win rates, all that stuff. Super easy to set up. No, I didn't code anything there. We got the custom indicators, and you just set it up. So
it's incredible. It's just it's amazing. You can't. The technology is mind-boggling. That's all I can say. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. TrendSpider is definitely ahead of its time, because most platforms you have to custom code this stuff.
Yeah, it's astonishing. It's really unbelievable. But we still boil down to, what do you believe tomorrow? The market will ask you.
Yeah. I think, yeah, and there's all these different lines you can use. Paraband plus HH20. This is interesting. It wasn't working on the Paraband plus LX stop, because it technically, I thought, was there. Oh, maybe it's on daily data. Let me try close. Interesting. We have to mess around with it a little bit, but yeah, still pretty solid on its own. It seems to work pretty good, and you can back test it on any symbol, futures, all that stuff. So yeah, that is a strategy tester, market scanner, and that's just a couple of parts here on TrendSpider. So, but yeah, you guys, great session. We'll probably call it there before you go too long. We've been on for about 90 minutes, but we'll see you again next week, Tushar. Make sure if you guys are still out there, join us again next week. And I'm going live the next couple days this week as well, some other guests. But next week in video will be a big one. So tune in for that. Absolutely. But thank you again so much for coming on, Tushar. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for inviting me, and have a great afternoon, I guess. Rest of your day, everybody.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day, everybody. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.